We are no longer streaming directly to our Facebook group. If you want to watch on Facebook Live, do so on our page. That's facebook.com/Cave Talk Radio NY. It's the page, not the group. You'll notice in the URL when you type in for a group, it's facebook.com/groups/Cave Talk Radio NY. This is the page, which is a different place altogether. Much more action there. That's where you should be hanging out anyway. Facebook.com/Cave Talk Radio NY to watch us there. So that's a little quick programming note. Now into the opening rant. Look, one thing that I'm watching for last night when I'm watching this football game is I want to see dominance. I want to see the exertion of superiority. The Niners are a radically better team than the Cardinals right now. And I wanted to see that. I wanted to have the NFL restore my faith in some level of sanity, given how the season's transpired. And my favorite team did not let me down. The Niners absolutely bull rushed the Cardinals last night. A total domination. I think it was 38-10 was the final score, just a complete annihilation. And George Kittle, let's not forget about him, okay? Everyone talks about McCaffrey, understandably so. Everyone talks about Debo, understandably so. Everyone talks about Bosa, understandably so. And everyone talks about Jimmy, is he or is he not? Also, he's a quarterback, understandably so. But let's not forget about George Kittle, who, other than Travis Kelce, might very well be the best pass-catching tight end in the NFL. Mark Andrews is in that conversation too for Baltimore. But this guy's a monster, and he showed it last night. Just total game-changing playmaking, 2 big touchdowns for Kittle. I mean, what can you say? This was a total, complete team win last night. Everyone dominated. Jimmy with the 4 touchdowns. The defense was all over the place. And the Cardinals, I don't think it mattered who played quarterback last night, Rich. They weren't winning this game.
No, not at all. And Kittle has kind of been the forgotten man.
He has.
A little bit. You don't sleep on someone with that kind of talent.
Oh, he's so good. And
he is.
I mean, the Cardinals, I don't know what their game plan was in this game, to be honest with you, but whatever it was, didn't work.
It didn't come close.
There was nothing going on. I mean, you felt this way from the opening snap almost. The Cardinals had no business being in this game. I mean, this team, I remember saying it last year, this team is not as good as they started. They started last year 11-0. People went crazy. And I just remember telling people, let's relax. They finished the season, barely made the playoffs. And they've been pretty much awful since the halfway point. Since they were 11-0, I think they're now, what did they finish with? I think 12 wins last year. So if they finish with 12 wins, they have 4 wins right now. So they're 4-7. They finished, last year was the first year with 17 games. So they're now, I guess that would make them 10 for their last, 13 or so.
Well, they're 4-7 this year.
They're 4-7 this year. They finished with 12 wins.
If you discount their 11 wins.
Well, since then. Yep.
Since then, they won 1.
Yep.
And lost.
And lost
5.
5, right.
So they are 5-12.
Yep, 5-12 since that 11-0 start. Yep, games. There we go.
And that's about par for the course. That's about the way I feel about it.
Yeah, I think so.
Jimmy G went off.
Yeah, 20 of 29.
4 touchdowns, 131.9 passer rating. He was near perfect.
Yeah, he was awesome.
And speaking of near perfect, the defense, 3 sacks, 9 tackles for loss, 8 quarterback hits, 2 interceptions, 10 points allowed. Can't do much better.
No,
the offense did whatever they wanted to. I mean, McCaffrey had 106 yards from scrimmage.
No, that's about as good as it gets.
Debo scored his first touchdown since week 5, and that was necessary. It's just a great all-around game.
Yep, total domination. And, you know, the one thing when I watch a game like this, and I feel like this is the elephant in the room. It's not a deal for this year. But there's Trey Lance back there. There's Kyle Shanahan's devotion to his golden child. And the more I watch this team, the way they're constructed right now, the way that Jimmy G orchestrates this team, the more I'm like, no, don't do it. You probably have about a 4-year window right now, if you're the Niners, to really compete for championships year in and year out.
And that's as long as McCaffrey stays healthy.
Right. Why would you risk that? I mean, even if you lose McCaffrey, either to an injury or you contract or whatever. I mean, Samuel, Kittle, this other Ayuk, I think his name is. He's good too. I mean, you could do a lot with this team. You're gonna have 3 or 4 years of being competitive at the highest level. That is not the time to bring in a different quarterback. And I'm not going to beat that dead horse. It's not relevant right now, but it's looming in the background to me. It's on my mind, So I'm enjoying, as a fan of that particular team, I'm enjoying this season, play to play, game to game, because I'm waiting for them to nuke themselves.
And Shanahan, to his credit, realizes what he's working with.
Yep.
And he simplified the offense to a point where it's good for everyone.
Right.
It works for everyone. Now, if your young quarterback cannot handle a simplified offense, what does that tell you?
It's not very good.
That's scary for the future. They got to find a way to say, Jimmy, would you come back for a couple of years?
Yep.
The only problem with that is Lance will have 4 in and be eligible for free agents.
Fine, let him go. I'm okay just chalking it up to, we made a bad mistake. It cost us some draft capital. Let's move on. I'm okay with that. I really am.
But wouldn't you say the Jets are a perfect example of misusing draft capital to get quarterbacks with very high picks?
Boy, that was my next. That was you. You're reading my mind here.
Sorry.
My goodness, what a disaster. I'm hearing rumblings about discontent and maybe mutiny in the locker room. There was a Twitter post that was liked by both Sauce Gardner and one other player too, defensive player. They both claim it was accidental. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, right.
And I don't blame them. Because they played a great game defensively. They held the Patriots effectively to 3 points. They scored the only touchdown in the game on a return. But if you're a fan of the Jets, this is why I was hesitant to put them in my top 10 a couple of weeks ago. It's why I took them out of my top 10 during a bye week. I pretty much did it because I told Scott I would, and they had that one impressive win against Buffalo. But the truth is, yes, they're 6-4, but they're also a team without a bedrock. There's no identity. There's no offensive bedrock on this team. Their defense is solid. Their defense is very good. Sauce Gardner might be the best defensive back in the NFL already. If not, he's certainly one of them. He's a total, I would use the term phenom as a defensive back. But, man, this offense can't do anything. And, I mean, Zach Wilson stinks. Like, the guy straight stinks.
Who is the defensive back for the Rams? Jalen Ramsey.
Jalen Ramsey, yes.
That's who Sauce Gardner reminds me of when Ramsey was still good.
Mm-hmm.
Some reason this year he's fallen off the rails. I see him getting beat for 5-10 yards on long plays. But Gardner has that look about him of Jalen Ramsey. I think Wilson did himself no favors. He acted infantile on the sidelines after the game. And then in post-game interviews, he was just a jerk. You don't have the cachet to be that.
No, you can't be a jerk when you're not that good.
Right. And when they asked him, do you think you let your defense down? And he goes, nope.
Nope.
If I was a defensive player, I'd be like, yeah, okay. We're this close to being done with you.
Well, yeah, I mean, it only makes sense. I mean, if I'm a defensive player, I'm not happy either. I totally get it. Cause I mean, look, what is he bringing to the party? To your point, Rich, what is he bringing to the party here? What's he contributing? Nothing. I mean,
Not
really
enough.
nothing. I mean, yesterday, really nothing. I mean, look, there was one play they showed on replay. It was a basic swing pass behind the line of scrimmage. He threw it like 5 yards over the guy's head. You're just lucky no one was standing there. It would have been a pick six. Like,
Well, look at the picks the Patriots left on the field too.
oh man, this game could have been 24-3 easily.
McCourty had one. It hit him
Yep.
in a bad place.
Yep.
His hands.
Yep.
But there were a couple of picks that landed right in people's hands and they didn't hold them. I guess that's why they're not receivers.
That would make sense. Yeah.
But yeah, you don't have this team to do something like that.
No. Nope, not at all.
You don't alienate your teammates. But again, getting back to the whole Trey Lance thing, a lot of draft capital for that. Well, they used the third pick on Darnold and decided it was time to give up on him. Right or wrong, they never had anything around him.
Right.
And they probably ruined the kid.
I think Darnold is light years better than this kid is.
I agree.
Now, Darnold's no prize. I agree with that. But he is a lot better than this guy. A lot better. This guy stinks. This guy has bust written all over him.
I think a lot of quarterbacks from that draft, too, they raved about them. I didn't feel good about this kid when they took him. I thought, well, that's a reach. And then the Niners made a reach afterwards with Lance. You and I talked about it before the draft last year, that the one quarterback we both thought had a shot at doing something was Lawrence.
Right. Yep.
And after a real wasted year with no coaching, he's starting to show a little bit of that.
Yeah, that was bad. That year of no coaching. I mean, Urban Meyer stinks. Absolutely stinks.
It's very rare you get a college coach come into the NFL.
No, I mean,
Jimmy Johnson was one of those rare exceptions.
Yeah, I was gonna say even Nick Saban himself. I mean, he wasn't a total abject failure. He was maybe a failure of timing as much as anything else.
Right.
But then he landed at Alabama, and God, why would you ever leave? It's
right.
Best coaching job in the country, regardless of sport, probably. Like, he's a king there. He wins all the time. He gets whoever he wants.
Right.
He's unlimited budget. Why would he leave?
Well, it's like Meyer was just the wrong fit at the wrong time. Why they even did that, I don't know. When a guy comes out and goes, I can't believe these coaches work 12, 13-hour days. I'm working 3 hours and playing golf. Okay.
Yep, not going to happen.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, bye.
And when he's not getting lap dances, I mean, that's...
Yeah. I mean, nothing wrong with some lap dances now.
If you're in the public eye and married, it's probably not the best look.
Yeah, well, technicalities, my friend, technicalities.
All right, let's see what your wife has to say about it.
That's funny. I would say that she would probably not be happy about that. I would say
I would think
she would not be happy about that. We got a lot of stuff to get to today. We got the question of the day still to come. We have all of our NBA. We got some NHL. We got the top 5. We got news you can use. And I want to talk about the Jets here. Where do they go from here? So they're 6-4. So I want to have two separate conversations. The first one is, what do they do? What should be the objective the rest of the way, and how to best get there? And then beyond this season, what can you glean from this season? Let's say they finish with 10 wins and they squeak into the playoffs or just narrowly miss the playoffs. What are you feeling going forward if you're the Jets organization? So those are the two things I want to talk about. That's next. Question of the day, NBA after. It's the Gary Ayd Show, back after this here on The Cave.
Do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call. Because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at crazy low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts at over 500 different airlines, plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best price for you. Call SmartFares today and get ready to see the world with a fat wallet.
800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. That's 800-370-2460.
Come on, you watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you with the power to collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Oh, good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do, and you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. That's 800-649-8617.
Rich Anselmo forgets he's on camera, acting like a dope, mouthing off the commercial.
Well, first of all, the guy starts off by going, "Come on," and it just gets me.
There you go. All right.
I will say one thing. When
Yes.
most people win a lottery, people ask them the first thing I'm going to take care of my family. I'm going to buy a house. I'm going to do this and that. First thing to do if you ever come in that kind of money, get a tax lawyer, a good one.
Yes.
And
Yes.
no one does that for some reason.
No, that's the first thing. And the second thing is get cash. Don't leave it in the bank. Otherwise they'll want to tax you again. Yeah, I would totally be that guy with $5 million lying in a safe somewhere under a floorboard or something. Totally me. Absolutely. All right.
Well, if you don't, you're paying tax on it every year anyway.
Exactly. So if I throw it in the floorboard, people say, well, it won't make you any money. Well, yeah, but it won't cost me any either.
True.
And I could
what
do
it
just
makes
fine
you,
with
what
5 million.
little it makes you in interest, it costs you more in tax.
Yeah, unless you're going to really use that money as a hardcore investment. You know, you're going to really buy stocks with it. You're going to buy real estate. You're going to buy a business. That's different. But if you're just going to like put it in like a CD or a money market, or you're not going to do anything like risky with it, where there's a better chance of a higher return, then yeah, you're losing money by saving money at that point. You may as well just grandma knew. I was having this conversation at a coffee shop today. People don't understand this. Our grandparents, well, my grandparents, I guess your parents' generation, they knew everything. They were right about everything. All those stupid sayings that we make fun of, they were all right. Too much of anything is no good. Everything in moderation. And what's the other one? Sticks and stones can break my bones. Words will never hurt me. And save your money. Pay yourself first. All that stuff. I'm sure your mom said all these things. I know my grandmother did.
My grandmother did too.
It's all correct. Every last bit of it.
People who lived through the Depression realized it.
100%. Absolutely. I mean, it's just so crazy. Like, man, my grandmother, my dad's mother, was the longest living of all but one of my grandparents. My mother's father lived into my 30s. He lived to be 90. I was like 33 or so when he died. I guess he died in 2017. So yeah, I would have been, I guess, 32 at the time. He he lived to be 90, but my dad's mother died when I was 13, but she had such an impact on my life in such a short time. Like a lot of my principles in life, I, trace to her, to this day. And, the funny thing is, like, she, she really wasn't one of these, like, listen here types. It was just like common sense, logical, that to a
Yeah.
13-year-old brain just was like, well, that makes sense. Or 10-year-olds or younger than that. I mean, she lived till I was 13. Obviously, I knew her from the time I have memories.
Right.
So, but just amazing, just absolutely amazing. All right, let's talk about the Jets. If you're, let me put this to you. If you were a Jets fan, what are you feeling right now? Where are you as far as what would make you satisfied with this season at this point? You're 6-4 right now. You're happy with the season as a Jet fan
If we win 10 games and even compete for a spot, if we don't get a spot, that's fine. But 10 games and continue to show some improvement. Now, the only question I would put toward you on that is, what do you do to show that improvement,
right?
especially offensively?
That's a
I
good
mean,
question.
you're without your best offensive weapon.
Right. Yep. Who was found money in a sense also. Like, it wasn't like you drafted Hall to be Gale Sayers or OJ Simpson. His ascension to the dominant player he was before his injury was quite a surprise. Now, I think they assumed he would be a contributor and a piece in their offense, maybe even a significant piece. But I mean, he was almost in like borderline MVP talks.
Oh, yeah. I remember talking to a friend of mine who's a scout.
Basketball
Before-
scout?
No,
Football scout.
football
Okay.
scout. Before the NFL draft. And I asked him a few teams, what do you think this team should do? What do you think that team should do? And I asked him, what do you think Buffalo should do with its first round pick? He said, draft Brees Hall.
Wow.
And yeah. Uh-oh. Dylan says, I'm only satisfied if the Jets go all in on Lamar Jackson this offseason. Lamar Jackson would make a lot of sense because for some reason the Ravens haven't prioritized him. But you have to think they're going to re-sign him.
You would think so.
If they don't, yeah, if I were the Jets, I would do that. You've shown you can't do this through the draft.
Right.
But the problem is now, if you bench this kid to go with White, who's not going to take you anywhere, you know that.
Right.
He's a backup for a reason. If you bench this kid, you may as well just say, we've lost him. Are you ready to do that yet? I think a lot of people are. I don't know if I would be.
You're talking about Wilson.
Yes. You did spend the second pick in the draft on him.
You did. And, no, I have to tell you, I wouldn't either. And I'll tell you why. Well, beyond what you just said, but like, which is, that's, clear. That's a big pick to spend, and it's pretty still early in the game. But the one thing I would also add is I'm not thrilled about Mike White coming in. What, Joe Flacco? Like,
no,
they're not going to help.
Right.
So you may as well just ride it out with this guy. I agree. I don't think he's the answer. I'll say I don't think the quarterback answer is on this roster right now. He might not even be in the league yet. But
I agree.
But I'm certainly not dumping mid-season with their winning record or quarterback that's in his second year who I spent the second overall pick on when my other options are Joe Flacco, who's 80 years old, and Mike White, who's a third string quarterback.
Right.
I'm just not doing it. They're like, no, if you told me I had, this is 2013 or something, and you told me I had Ryan Fitzpatrick on waiting in the wings and we're sitting at 6-4, but it's clear, because it is clear that Wilson's not going to get the job done. I think that's clear, but it's also clear that the other alternatives aren't either. But if I had a guy like Ryan Fitzpatrick as the second stringer, then I might be willing to give up on Wilson now, nuke the pick, and say, okay, well, Fitzpatrick will likely bring us to the playoffs this year. We can consider this a success. We can bring him in next year as our starter, and we can figure it out. But I don't have that guy on this roster. So, yeah, I'm going to roll with Wilson. I'm going to hold my nose, cover my eyes, like I'm going to watch the game like this and hope for the best.
Well, the first thing they need to do, a coach or someone needs to talk to him and say, get in front of that team and apologize.
Right.
Today.
Yep.
First thing. Or else you're leading this team nowhere.
Right.
Because they're not following you.
Oh, no. Well, the good thing they're not following him. They'd be following him right into the gutter. They'd be running into Master Splinter and Donatello, where they'd be in the sewers if they followed him.
Explain to him what he did, how stupid it was, and don't mince words.
Right.
And just tell him this is unacceptable at this level. You're in the NFL. And we discussed this earlier, what he said about the defense. He let the defense down. Yes, you did. You can say no all you want, but you did. Apologize if you ever want the chance to take over this team. Ever.
There you go. So, yeah, if I'm the Jets going forward, going into next offseason, let's finish the segment with this. Going into next offseason, what do you do with Wilson? Are you bringing him back? Trying to trade him? You cutting him and just seeing what you can do?
I don't think he's going to bring you anything in a trade. If a team will give you, he's very immature.
Yeah.
He does have some physical tools. Mentally, he's extremely immature. If you can get a 7th round pick for him, take it. But you're better off. You're better off cutting him because the 7th round pick looks worse.
It does.
Than getting nothing.
Than just cutting him, right?
Cut ties with him. Try to get a veteran from somewhere.
Right.
Don't. I mean, it's obvious you can't draft for the position.
Oh no. No, that's clear.
Who was the last good quarterback they drafted? Chad Pennington? And he was mediocre.
Yeah, he was just above average, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, God, they don't ever draft quarterbacks well.
No.
Mark Sanchez probably was the best quarterback they've ever drafted, really.
And he was a system guy who was good in one system.
Right. Right. That's sad.
Yeah. And he too had a defense in front, around him.
That could be its own top 5 one day. The top 5 worst drafting franchises in NFL history as far as quarterbacks are concerned. You're talking. The Jets they got to be. Do you say up there or down there? I don't know what's proper there. It depends on the way you want to frame it, I suppose.
Are you looking at it as a nadir or a peak?
Yeah, right.
That's the thing. Dylan says in the chat, Gardner Minshew to the Jets are not good enough. I don't think he would do a lot more than White does.
Yeah,
I think Minshew is just a backup.
I tend to agree. Would I take Minshew today over Zach Wilson? If he was
finish
on my
the rest
roster,
of the season, yes.
Yeah, I probably would. But if Minshew was my backup right now and I put him in over Wilson, it would signify I was never putting Wilson back and he was gone after the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm gonna replace Wilson, if I bench him, he's never coming back. That's the way I look at this. If I bench him, that's the end of it. It's not like, okay, we're benching you for now, but we're gonna put you. But no. Because whoever you'd be benching him for is so bad and so down the line that there's no coming back from that. When you get benched for Mike White or 80-year-old Joe Flacco, that's it. Game over. Nope. Done.
Is Flacco collecting SSI yet?
He got to be close. I mean, he's definitely, I think, was around to vote for Nixon in the Oval Office. I don't know. The guy's been around for a while.
What would your take be on Taylor Heineke as a bridge guy?
I don't know if I think of him as a bridge guy. I might think of him as an answer for a while. That kid's impressed me. I'll tell you this.
His teammates play for him.
They do. And if I was Washington, I wouldn't let that be an option because I'd be thinking, you know what? We got a really good defense. You just said it. You're right. The guys play for him. Add a couple of weapons around him and let's go to battle. Now, maybe the better question is, what about the other Washington quarterback, Wentz? Is he any better than Wilson? I think he is.
Not much. He's a shell of himself.
He is. But I think he's still better than Wilson. But I wouldn't go in that direction either. But it's gonna
once a guy can't get a job back when he comes back from injury.
Yeah, it's a bad sign usually.
The guy in New Orleans that happened to too, Winston, came back, and he even said, "I came back from an injury."
Right.
You never lose your job when you come back for an injury. Well, you do if the person that goes in for you shows more competence than you did. And in both cases, in New Orleans with Dalton and in Washington with Heineke, they showed more than the other guy did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Heineke has played very well.
Yes.
All right. Well, there we have it. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We got our question of the day, NBA recap, NHL scores to get to the rest of the hour. Top 5 news you can use in hour 2. A lot to get to. It's the Gary Ayd Show. Back after this here on The Cave.
Are you like me? You have health insurance, but you don't have dental insurance. Do you need to get to the dentist right away? Maybe you need an implant or some other major service. Well, I found a dental insurance plan that's just right for you. It's called Spirit Dental. Spirit Dental offers a $100 lifetime deductible, a huge network of dentists. And here's the best part. There's no waiting periods. Yeah, that means you can call right now and have real dental insurance for you and your family tomorrow and get that immediate coverage you want. Spirit Dental has plans for just a few dollars a day, up to $5,000 annual maximum, and coverage for implants. Whatever age you are, the dental insurance you need is a free phone call away. Now don't wait, and be sure to ask about Spirit's vision plan. Here's the number: 800-631-9229. 800-631-9229. That's 800-631-9229.
Hey friend, life happens and you need money. What do? You call the special toll-free number we're about to give you. We will send you a link to your phone with details on how you can loan up to $5,000. Couldn't you use $5,000 to pay for your rent, pay grocery bills, get your car repaired, or whatever you need? It's up to you. We don't care. We're just here to lend you the money. And we'll lend people money with good, bad, or no credit at all. Of course, some terms and conditions apply, and you'll see those on the link we're going to send you. So if you need up to $5,000 maybe as soon as the next business day, call this number right now. We will text you a free link with details.
Paid for by Money Mutual. Call 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. That's 800-586-7112.
All righty, we are back here on the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave. Great to have you aboard. Talking about the Jets here. I got a comment in the group saying from Scott, couldn't you say the same thing about the Patriots? They only scored 3 points into the last, to the last play, basically. Well, yeah, in that one game, but it's more than that. Now, I don't think Mac Jones or the other guy, Zappy, are any prize either. But Jones shows a maturity, a poise, a coachability, and a composure, and frankly, a heat of the battle intellect that I've never seen from Zach Wilson, not one time. So if you're asking me, are either one good sitting here today? No, neither is particularly good. But if you gave me the option of Zach Wilson or Mac Jones, I'm taking Jones every time because he appears to be coachable. He appears to be poised. He appears to be emotionally and mentally mature, and all of that bodes well for the future. I think Zach Wilson is a dumpster fire. I mean, I think there's a chance we look back on him and he's in the same group as Achilles Smith, Jamarcus Russell, Ryan Leaf. Like, I could see him being in that crop.
Oh. Well, I thought the same thing about Mac Jones, though, in that draft. 15th pick wasn't as high of a reach, but it was still.
Right.
I didn't think he was any great shakes either.
No, he's not. I totally agree. But he at least gives you the maturity that you need from that position. You know, the poise and the calmness of mind that you need from that position. I just think he lacks. It's funny, if you could put them together, you might have a pretty good quarterback, because I think he lacks physical tools, Jones, whereas Wilson has some, but he just is, you know, he just doesn't have everything above the neck, unfortunately. So, all right, now
they made a couple good points on Monday Night Countdown last night, whereas Steve Young talked about the quarterback, and he said, no matter what, no matter how you played, you take the brunt of it, because you're going to get more of the credit when you do well.
Yep, that's right.
And someone else mentioned that Zach Wilson grew up in a home with a lot of money, was never asked to do anything. And I think if you're not made to be accountable for yourself when you're young, it causes immaturity when you're a little bit older.
Yeah, I think that's certainly possible. It certainly, you know, does happen. It's not a fait accompli. It doesn't necessarily have to happen.
No.
But it absolutely is more likely, I think, to happen. I think your point's well taken. Yeah, I mean, and I just, you know, there's certain things about quarterbacking that you either have or you don't. There's a certain level of calm under fire that you just need to possess. Like, you look at someone like I'm not even going to go to like the top of the mountain. I'm not even going to go to like the Brady or Manning class, but just look at someone like Matt Ryan through most of his career. He could stand in there and throw a dart while he was getting ready to get killed and never think about leaving the pocket. Ben Roethlisberger was like this. Phillip Rivers could do this. The problem you run into a lot with Wilson and with other mobile quarterbacks, even those more mobile than him, is they rely so much on their athleticism. They never develop that instinct, and they miss a lot of points every game as a result. As much as the NFL is trying to go to these RPOs, and you have all these new age mobile quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray, and to a lesser extent, Patrick Mahomes. But why is Patrick Mahomes light years better than those other two? Because he'll stand there, he'll stand in the pocket, he'll deliver a strike. Or if he does move around, it's moving around within the pocket or around the pocket to get the ball down the field.
Right.
He doesn't run.
And Jackson does more of those things than Murray does.
Yes.
To me, that's why I've never been high on Murray, because he's strictly.
Yeah, he's a strictly mobile quarterback.
He's a running quarterback.
He's a runner. Yep, he is. Now Jackson was much more that a few years ago too.
Yes.
Jackson's a couple years ahead of Murray as well, to be fair about it.
And he matured.
Right. But yeah, that type of thing, I think you lose a lot of points on the board by gaining 12 yards when you might have had a touchdown for 30.
And I get being mobile is something to really utilize when you're about 5'10".
Sure. Absolutely. No question about it. All right, let's hit our question of the day.
They say those who can't do, teach. But what about those who can do? I am KO, back in 1 minute with your sports question of the day.
You've been working hard, doing the right thing and paying your taxes and putting your hard-earned money in the Medicare piggy bank all your life. And now it's time to break the piggy bank and get something back. Medicare. If you didn't know it, Medicare is health insurance for people over 65, and you've paid for it with your tax dollars. Medicare plans now have more benefits than ever. That's good news, especially if you're like me and looking forward to paying as little as possible for good health insurance. Call and find out what Medicare plan is best for you. Save your time. It's valuable. We've already done the research for you, and in one quick phone call, you can learn how to get the best Medicare plan designed exactly for you. Hey, it's one of the most important decisions in your life. Let us help you through it. Here's our number. Call 65 Plus Medicare now at 855-301-5506, 855-301-5506, 855-301-5506. That's 855-301-5506.
Since former NFL center Jeff Saturday took over in Indianapolis, there has been a growing conversation surrounding owners hiring former players as head coaches. While Saturday certainly isn't the first player to transition to coach, he was the first former player in 61 years to take the reins and score a win without previous coaching experience at the college or professional level. Question: which current player do you think would make the best transition to head coach? Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, or Patrick Mahomes?
None. I think Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady would kill someone. And I think Patrick Mahomes, he's nicer than those guys. He would quickly get frustrated. But he wouldn't kill anyone. Whereas I think Brady and Rodgers would end up on like Homicide Hunter. Like they would kill someone. Here's the thing I'll say about Saturday. Well, first of all, it's 2 games. He's 1-1. But besides that, I do think there's something there with him as a coach. But it has nothing to do with his coaching knowledge, because he doesn't have a lot. And I don't think it has a whole lot to do with his playing career. Jeff Saturday is a unique man of deep principle, strong faith and convictions in that faith. He does not apologize to anybody for who he is. And he is a man that is one of those people that radiates respect, that just by force of nature commands the respect of a room he walks into. And someone who has that quality is going to be a great leader in any leadership position. I think Jeff Saturday, had he been a professional golfer, would be just as good an NFL head coach as he's ultimately going to be or not be, purely because of that nature of his personality. I think it has nothing to do with his football connection and everything to do with who he is as a person. And as far as the question is concerned, it's not a matter of who the player is. It's a matter of who that person is. And does he have that quality? That's a rare quality, but we've all been around people that just radiate, man, this guy's a leader. This guy's respectable. I want to do right by this guy. I like this guy. And when you're around someone like that, it's just easy to follow.
I agree. I've done a 180 on Saturday. At first, I wondered why they hired him. But the more I listen to him talk, the more I'm convinced that they weren't totally crazy doing this. He's his own man. His honesty and integrity shine through. And think about it. You're an offensive lineman. You're a center. When you're playing, you have to make calls at a moment's notice to determine what's going to happen to your quarterback, your running backs on any given play. Yep. So it's not as if he doesn't get the game. He may not be an X's and O's guys, but you know something? As long as my assistants are, right, it's fine.
Well, right. I mean, like a guy that you can point to that was like that is Larry Bird when he took over the Pacers. He didn't know the first thing about X's and O's. He didn't draw up plays, but he was a Larry Bird. Now, Larry Bird, of course, was a more recently retired player then, and Saturday is now, and of course, much more legendary, particularly it being Indiana. There were other elements there. I'm not going to say they weren't, but at his core, Larry Bird is a respectable person that is honorable, and unquestionably, he puts in the work. So you'll play for someone like that.
Right, and players did.
And they did.
I mean, all the way up to Reggie Miller, all set.
Absolutely. And then you surround yourself, to your point, with guys who are X's and O's, are down in the trenches, technical coaches. Rick Carlisle was the offensive coordinator. Dick Harter was the defensive coordinator. Harter at the time was like a lifer. At that time was 30, 40 years in the business already. So,
Sure, he spent a lot of his time in college.
Yep.
At Penn.
Yep.
Actually.
Yep.
Bird's one of the rare exceptions.
Yep.
Most great players can't do that.
There's very few. Deion Sanders is doing a hell of a job at Jackson State right now.
But he's a leader.
Yeah, he is.
People gravitate towards him. He gets people.
Yes.
And he understands. Most great players, the problem is you'll never be able to do it the way they did, and that's frustrating to them. I remember it frustrating Magic Johnson incredibly.
Yes.
To the point where he just said these young players don't get it.
Right. No,
it's not that they don't get it.
They're not you.
Right. They can't do it the way you did.
They don't have your talent. Right.
Right.
Yeah. That's just the bottom line.
Did.
Right. Exactly. I mean, like, I know I talk about him all the time, but like Ted Williams is another example of a guy he did win manager of the year his first year in Washington, but generally wasn't a great manager. There was a time when he was telling one of his batters, I forget who it was, hey, just keep your hands back to the last second and then just rip it through the zone. And the guy's like, yeah, I can't do that. He's like, I'm not Ted Williams. He goes, it doesn't matter. The guy's like, the hell it doesn't. It absolutely matters.
And Ted Williams used to say, that same thing. Well, if I just had me in the lineup, we'd be a lot better.
Yes. Yeah. Well, one of the reporters the first day he got hired was like, I asked him at his press conference. He goes, how would Ted Williams, the manager, handle Ted Williams, the player? Would he be okay with that? And Ted responded, he said, if he could hit like Ted Williams, hell yeah.
And that's about it. And I don't think Bird ever got enough credit.
No, Bird was an excellent coach. There's no question about it.
And he also knew when to get out.
Yep. Well, he went in there knowing three years was his number. He went in there right from the start.
Mm-hmm. And he realized that after 3 years, people start to tune you out. It's just normal. It's human nature.
Yep. Right. That's a short window.
It is. It really is. But I mean, it happens.
Yep. Except if you're Popovich. Somehow he's just an institution over there.
They're afraid to tune him out.
Yeah.
They're afraid of what he'll do.
He's just crazy enough. He might snap.
He's another one, though, that knows how to handle people.
Yes. Not reporters so much.
His young players, he'll take him. He'll put his arm around him. He'll talk to him. His veteran players, he'll grab a bottle of wine.
Yep.
Go sit and have a drink and talk.
Yeah.
And he's very, very good at it.
Just don't make him mad or he might break that bottle of wine over your head.
Oh, jeez.
Bar fight style.
It takes a special person to do it.
Yeah. Oh,
it really does.
Yes.
And you can't, it's not something you can teach. It's you have to have. Mm-hmm. Frank Reich had it.
Yep.
I mean, he was a backup quarterback. He knew the game plan inside out because he helped put it together when he was a player.
Yep.
He just didn't have the physical ability, and he was behind Jim Kelly.
Well, that doesn't help.
Right. But that's the first person Kelly used to go to on the sidelines, not his offensive coordinator, not his quarterback coach.
Backup quarterback.
Went to Frank Reich. What did you see?
Yep.
What did I not see?
Right.
And I mean, Reich would never talk about it, but Kelly always did. And Reich's a guy I would give another look to because I think this was kind of lousy.
Yeah, I don't know why this went the way it did. There was a lot of meddling by the owner.
Yes.
In ways that are even unusual for Irsay. And what
which is saying a lot.
But what made it weird was all the meddling was basically walked back the second Saturday walked into the room. That's what makes it strange even for Irsay. Not the fact that he was trying to meddle. That's what he does. But the fact that the second Saturday was there, all of a sudden Matt Ryan's back, Irsay's in the background again, and like it just makes you ask, like, why? Like,
well, that's to me, that's what kind of I really liked for Saturday. He was first thing he did. I can't call plays. I'm not that guy. I understand the offensive concepts.
yep,
But I can't call plays. You've been around forever. You're
call-
playing
you
and
call the
you're
plays.
calling plays.
Yep.
Perfect.
Great.
Another sign of a great coach. He delegates.
Yep, absolutely. Focus on the things that you're good at and leave other people to do the things that they're better at than you. Absolutely.
I remember a story. The late 50s, someone went in to talk to the Giants head coach then, Jim Lee Howe. And they were walking by the coaches' rooms. There's Lombardi, one assistant, sitting there working away, drawing stuff on the board. There's Landry putting up all his defensive concepts. You get to Jim Lee Howell's office, he's sitting in there reading a newspaper. When you have great assistants, let them do their job.
Yep, absolutely. No question about it. All right, well, good stuff. That takes us to the top of the hour. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll do the top 5. We got NBA, NHL, news you can use the rest of the way. Gary Ayd Show back after this here on The Cave. baby. Hour 2. Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave. CaveTalkRadio.com, the Cave Talk Radio app. Download that app. It is CarPlay compliant. It is Android Auto compliant. And all the information you need is in the bottom of the screen here, scrolling if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube Live. It is the Gary Ayd Show. Cave Talk Radio app is the name of the app. Great to have you aboard. Hour 2, Gary Ayd, Rich Anselmo. And it's time now for the top 5.
This is the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time for King Talk Radio's Top 5.
Boom shakalaka. There it is. Thank you, Jack George. What do we got today, Rich?
I told you this was going to be more of a fun week than they usually are. So something you mentioned today, I put on the back burner for future use. We're going to go with the one I originally had today. Name me your all-time top 5 radio show hosts, radio talk show hosts.
Oh, man.
We'll keep it within sports.
Yeah, okay. Well, I could deviate from sports a little bit, but can I combine sports and other stuff? I'll do lots of sports, but I'll probably have 1 or 2 outside of sports. Is that all right?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. Well, because there's 2 in particular, that non-sports people that I want to include, probably at least mention, if not make the final cut.
Okay.
Number 1 is Colin Cowherd. There's not even a question in my mind. He's, I think, the best sports talk host that's ever walked this planet. The guy's an absolute genius for the medium, does an incredible job. Really always is both his pace, the way he moves the show around, his teases, and then the thing that I love about him, the one thing that's sad about our business, and one thing I try not to be, it's fairly homogenous. There's, if you hear one take on a particular issue, it's pretty well certain that you're going to hear the same take on all this on the same issue over and over and over again. Toby's trying to eat my yogurt parfait here. Show me his boss. It's not you. But Cowherd, I never know where he's going to come down on the particular issue. I never know what angle he's going to take. He always comes up with the original angle that I don't hear anyplace else. And maybe the biggest thing is, and I've done this myself, I'll pirate him. I'll hear his take and be like, yeah, I like that. Put a little tweak or spin on it. But it's basically his idea. And, you know, that's an easy number 1. Number 2 is also easy for me. Mike Francesa. No question about it. Guy was an absolute beast on the airwaves. Look, there's one thing you have to respect. He was known for the first half of his career, 2/3 of his career. It was him and Mad Dog Russo, Mike and the Mad Dog. They basically revolutionized and invented the format effectively. But the last third of his career is more impressive to me even. This guy, for 15 years or better, about 15 years, 12, 13 years, he did a single person show in the biggest media market in the world, 5.5 hours a day. That's insane. That is total beast mode. And he dominated the ratings books like nobody's business. And the thing I loved about Francesa, the reason I liked him, me personally, despite his personable foibles, I liked the fact that Mike Francesa was all sports all the time, hard charging, every bit New York City, unapologetic, totally knew his topic. He was the host for the hardcore sports fan. If you're a fan of sports and just like talking sports, he's the guy for you. Another thing I don't like about our industry is there's too many guys that try to be D-rate comedians and try to be like, you know, appealing to the masses, the wider audience, and all this other nonsense. No, be great for your A1s. What are A1s? That's an industry term for your number 1 listeners. be a star for them, because ultimately it's not just about how many listeners, but how loyal are those listeners. Ultimately, you want listeners who are going to buy the products of whatever advertisers you're promoting. And the only people that will do that because you said so are the people who love you. And the people that love you are only going to love you if you're talking about what they want to talk about. Like, attracting a whole mess of casuals because you might say something funny every once in a while does not have the impact of attracting a bunch of diehards. And Francesa's show for years proved that. So that's number 2.
Uh-oh.
What?
I say something funny every once in a while.
Well, you could be funny and not be off topic. Like,
No,
right?
we pretty much stick with our.
Yeah, I mean, Cowherd will make a joke here. He'll do this there, but I loved Francesa's approach. I loved it. To me, I would listen to his show 4 or 5 hours straight, any day. I would listen to the whole thing. Another guy I really like, in the sports world is I'm a big fan of Richard Neer. I think he's a great talk show host. He's a weekend guy. You don't hear him a lot, but I think he's very good. A couple of non-sports guys I do want to mention. Dave Ramsey, I think, is tremendous. He's unique in the fact that he basically uses his show as one giant advertisement for his larger business and makes money from the show to boot. So he's kind of used media as both a practitioner and an advertiser all at the same time. A very brilliant approach. He's obviously a financial guy. He's not a sports talk guy, nor is he really a classic news talk guy. But he's very, very good. Another guy that has his one-liners, but otherwise stays on topic. Like Francesa's show was, very caller-driven. It only works in big markets or national networks where you have the callers to do that. They do. A big fan of his. And in his case, what he does has changed lives, has impacted lives in a way that, is more maybe direct than perhaps sports talk hosts, which I absolutely believe what we do is very important. I believe what we cover is critical to society, but it's not quite as personal as someone helping you figure out how to pay for your kids' college, or how to, get out of debt, or how to save for the first time in your life. It's a little different. So I put Ramsey on there. The inventor, as far as I'm concerned, of all things spoken word, whether it's news, sports, or anything else. The late, great Rush Limbaugh. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention him. You can say what you want about the guy. The guy was an absolute legend, an absolute titan of this industry, the titan of this industry. I mean, you're talking about a guy who had 120 million or so weekly listeners. I mean, God, this guy had almost half the country listening to him on a weekly basis. That's insane. I mean, it's incomprehensible. I mean, for some context, this isn't to make us look small, but just for comparison, last month we had just over 10,500 listeners, mostly in this Orange County area, which is a very good month. This guy did almost half the country every week for 40 years. It defies, you can't even put into words how crazy that is.
And at his peak, he was on over 600 radio stations.
Right. And he was maybe the only talk show that got to charge for the privilege of both carrying his show and to listen to it on a non-over-the-air affiliate. If you wanted to listen to his show in some other format, like on a replay or on demand, it was a subscription. It was the only one that was like that. You weren't going to find that on the iHeart app. You weren't going to find that on satellite radio. You would find it on the over-the-air affiliates who paid to carry his show. And then you would find it, digitally if you paid to access it. It's the only one that could do that because of the mass of his audience. And what made him unique, besides the scope of his audience, like I was saying before, size of the audience is one factor, but their loyalty and their willingness to follow what you say, both in terms of buying advertisers, products and just generally, wanting to tune in every day, there's never been a more devoted audience in the history of media, I would venture a guess, than the radio audience Rush Limbaugh curated over his career. I mean, that's why advertisers flock to his show, regardless of how politically inexpedient it may be at various times. The bottom line was everyone that listened to that show was willing to at least listen to an offer from just about any advertiser he said was good. So it was gold. Absolute
Very
gold.
true.
So who else? So that's 4 guys. There's some other sports guys. John Jastrzemski, I really like. I liked Joe Beningo and Evan Roberts a lot. I thought they're very good. A lot of the other national guys I'm not a big fan of. I'm not a big Dan Patrick guy. I'm not Tony Bruno's okay. I'm going to go Scott Farrell, though, as my 5th. He's a unique flavor. Just a weird dude.
Yes,
Crazy
he is.
sounding. He's crazier than he sounds. And he's absolutely hilarious. We carry his show daily on the Cave here, 4 to 6. If you want to take a listen to it, you'll hear what I'm talking about. He's awesome. So I think that's going to be my list. I think 1 will be Cowherd. 2 will be Francesa. 3, I'm going to go with, I said Richard Neer, but I think I'm going to move from 4 to 3. I think I'm going to move up Dave Ramsey, followed by Rush Limbaugh at 4. And I'm going to go 5, Richard Neer. Honorable mention for Joe Beningo, Evan Roberts, that pairing, and also John Jastrzemski, who has a lot of career left ahead of him.
Wow.
That's going to be my list.
Outstanding.
Yep. Bunch of great talent.
Outstanding. A lot of talent there.
No question about it. So
I would have no argument with any of that. I am a big fan of Freddie Coleman.
yeah, he's pretty solid.
I know what I'm going to get from him every night.
Yep.
He's an excellent interviewer.
Yep.
He's not as much opinion driven, but he will give you one.
Yep.
And he's just very good. He's one of the people on his network that I still enjoy listening to every day.
Yeah, not. Why do they still have him buried in the middle of the night?
I don't know.
You would think after all these years he'd have a chance to move up. Maybe his style works at night.
It does. It really does.
But I could see him as a morning guy for the same reason.
Oh, I could too. And he and I have discussed this actually, and because he started out as a radio DJ, as did I.
Yes.
And we both still love music and talk about it on the occasions that we do talk. And I think the fact that he picks his own bump music and that he may be comfortable at night.
Right. Yeah, I guess he's done it for so many years.
He's very good.
Yeah, he is very good. I like him too. I gotta be honest, it works for him and it is his style and his show. I don't love the fact that there's so little hard hitting opinion. I really enjoy that element of sports talk, like a lot.
He's not afraid to give them.
No, I know that, but it's not a driver of his show, and that's mostly what I tune in for. Through most of my life, I've been much more enamored with the conversation around sports than the games themselves. Well,
conversation comes in different forms.
Oh, it does.
Rich Eisen's not the most opinionated guy in the world, but he is an incredible interviewer. One of the best in the business.
Yes. No, he is.
It feels like you're listening to someone you know when he interviews.
Yeah, he's very relatable. He's very down to earth.
Another one on mine that may shock you is Howard Stern. Also, one of the best interviewers. When you get him down to do a serious interview, amazing.
Mm-hmm.
He asks the right questions. He's not afraid to hit hard. And he pushes to get answers.
Right. Yeah, no, and it comes down to what you, as a listener, personally like. See, I like solo shows with a dynamic host with a big personality and big opinions that stays on topic. That's what I like. That's why I like Cowherd. That's why I like Francesa. I appreciate a good interview every now and again, but I'm okay if they don't do one for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
I really don't need that and I think mostly that's because with rare and increasingly so exceptions, the people that they bring on, they always want to bring on the biggest names they can, obviously. But in doing so, they get the least production because the bigger the name, the less they're going to say.
Yeah.
That's just a general rule. So
I've seen Eisen do interviews with people I've never heard of.
Well, those
and they were captivating.
Well, those are the interviews that you'll get something substantive from because they don't have as much to lose. They're not on eggshells. Maybe they're not even paid to be there. I mean, some of these people get paid just to appear, so they're just cashing a check.
Oh, absolutely.
But
as an interviewer, and there's very few that I like. Very few. I think it's a dying art.
Well, because it's becoming less and less useful. But that's my point. Is like I don't really care what Greg Popovich is going to say. He's not going to say anything. Steve Kerr's not going to give me a bulletin board material. Steph Curry's not going to tell me anything. LeBron's not going to tell me anything.
And those aren't the interviews I look for.
But like, it's very hard to get one that will tell you anything because you also want to strike the balance. Ideally, if you're the programmer, you want someone people know to say something relevant.
Right.
And you almost can never get both together. So what do? My opinion is the hell with the interviews, have a dynamic host or a dynamic pair of hosts and be opinion driven and make yourself as the host the star. You're the attraction. That's the way I look at talk radio. The only reason to listen to talk radio is for the opinions of the host. You're tuning in for that person. That's how I've always looked at it. Like that's
I'm more dual pronged. There are days I do want to sit down and listen to what someone has to say. And like I said, if I do, I don't sit and watch Eisen's 3 hours every day. In fact, I seldom do. But if he's got someone on that intrigues me, I'll listen.
Right. Yeah, no,
and him and
fair.
Stern are the two guys I can think of that are excellent at that.
No, I understand that. The last time I cared to listen to an interview was probably Mike and Mike in the Morning in their annual interview of the NBA commissioner, whether it was David Stern or Adam Silver.
Yeah.
They always did a very good job. And for whatever reason, both commissioners were more forthright and candid than normal in that setting. And
especially Silver.
Yes, very candid. And I always enjoyed it because I felt like I always learned something about what direction the league was likely heading.
Absolutely.
That was the
Stern always had his guard up a little bit.
Yes. But
Silver was forthright. He was there.
Yes. I always liked that. I thought they did a good job interviewing Roger Goodell in similar circumstances every year.
And he's a tough one.
He's a tough one to talk to. He's a politician first and foremost, and a lawyer secondly. So he's really not the gregarious type in those settings. The other guys, and it's funny because they're not talk show hosts at all. They're play-by-play guys and color guys. But I mentioned them yesterday when we were doing this with the play-by-play guys. Chris Carino and Tim Capstraw have a way of communicating with the Nets coaching staff, particularly when Kenny Atkinson was there. You really felt like they were just talking amongst themselves, forgetting that there was even cameras and microphones on. Like there was a lot of candid back and forth between those three. Less so with Nash, and I haven't heard since they took over since Vaughn took over, so I can't say. But I thought that was really, really good because I felt like I was getting actual insight and a gleam behind the curtain, so to speak. And that's ultimately all an interview can offer you is inside information. And if it's not going to do that because they're too guarded, it serves no purpose.
Right. Oh, I agree
it's just
with that,
it's just name dropping at that point.
which is why I look for ones I want to hear.
Right, right,
I'm more selective. Where a talk show host like a coward, I'll sit there.
right. Well, I think that's why I prefer those shows, because I don't have to filter them and search for them and think about it. Like, I know if Mike Francesa or Colin Cowherd's on, I'm going to like whatever's on, and I can just put it on for 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
Very comfortable to do that. And then sometimes, particularly with Cowherd, there'll be a random good interview. Like, for example, he has Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk on a lot.
Yes,
They
he does.
always have good segments together. So the guy, Greg, I forget his last name, used to be Cosell, yes. Yep. Another great interview.
Yes.
He does great football interviews, Colin.
And what else he does that no one does as well in his line, his cadence.
Oh, he's the best.
Is perfect.
Oh, he's the best.
It is perfect.
Green,
he flows from one thing to another
beautifully, seamlessly.
He interacts very well. He is put more into the people that sit with him.
Yes.
And I think that came from how comfortable he was with Joy Taylor.
Yes, agreed.
Because he puts even the people he has now that flow through, he uses them more
heavily. Yes, he does.
Yeah, and they're a tool for him.
Yes. Yep.
And when you have that kind of ability where you could handle the thing yourself or incorporate someone in, it's a skill.
Oh, it's a great skill. No, he's the best.
And he's great at it.
Yeah, he's the best. The only other person I've ever heard who had cadence on his level was Mike Greenberg. Mike Greenberg steered that show brilliantly.
I was just going to say that.
He was unbelievable. His teases were the best I've ever heard. Greenberg would throw a tease, and like, there's no way I'm not waiting for it.
Right.
Like, he was just so good at it.
And I don't know what happened with them. There's a lot of speculation.
Yep.
But that pair should never have been broken up.
That was radio gold.
It was.
I think, and you very rarely see this, if ever, but I think if there was ever a situation where a reunion would make sense, that would be it.
Yes, I do too.
I think because right now ESPN Radio, to be perfectly candid, is a dumpster fire of worthlessness. There's nothing there to listen to other than Freddie. That's the only thing left.
That's who I listen.
Yeah, that's it, and that's only if you're up at 2 a.m.
And which I usually
you are. I'm not, but yeah.
And they have an amazing talent, Christine Lisi too, who does
she's tremendous. I wouldn't
anyone I've ever heard.
She's tremendous. She's one of the very best. I've spoken to her on Facebook a few times about this. Her and Amy Lawrence were both very, very good.
Amy Lawrence from CBS. Yeah. Very good.
One last person I do want to throw in here on the way to the break is Sean Hannity. Now, Sean, his special talent to me, I mean, he's got a lot of them, but the thing that stands out to me that I think he's the best ever at is, and I'm looking for it, I'm listening for it, and he still gets even me sometimes. I'm sure he gets the regular listener like every time with this. He'll be in the middle, 3/4 of the way, halfway through a live read before I realize it's not part of his segment. That's how smooth he is with his live read advertisements. He's so good at it. And
that's another area that is not as pronounced now as it used to be.
Right, because a lot of people just kind of treat it like a read, so they just read it. But like, he treats it like part of his show. And so he might be.
Cowherd does that too.
Yeah, Cowherd does it too. I think Hannity's even better at it. There was one particular time, might have been LifeLock, that he was advertising. I think it was. And of course, it was brilliant. The previous segment before the live read and the toss to break, they were talking about the border situation. So, of course, security, he's just, the security is such a big deal. There's so many issues at the southern border. It's a huge problem for the country on a microcosm level. You have to be concerned about your own security. That's where LifeLock comes in. Like, that's brilliant. You know what I mean? Like, you get 30 seconds into the ad before you realize it's an ad.
That's the tie-in.
It's just genius. And he's so good at it.
It's a skill.
Yeah, he's so good at it. But anyway, so that's a good list. Let's hit a break. We'll come back. We will touch on the NBA, NHL, and we got news you can use the rest of the way. It's the Gary Ayd Show back after this here on The Cave.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. That's 800-741-9557. If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. That's 800-826-5884.
All righty, we are back. And Rich, I'm going to try to wolf down a little yogurt parfait here. You want to hit us with your NHL scores in the meantime?
Okay, let's take a look. It was a busy night last night. We had 10 games, 2 involve local teams. Let's start in New Jersey, where Captain Nico Hischier led the way. He had 3 assists. Jesper Brett and Dawson Mercer each had a goal and an assist. And young Jack Hughes just controlled the game and had 2 assists. The Devils beat a high-scoring Edmonton team 5-2 last night. It's their 13th win in a row. That ties the team record. They are hot. They are firing on all cylinders. Vanacek was great in goal last night. Only giving up 2 goals to Edmonton is a feat. Excellent game. They can break that record Wednesday night against the Leafs, and don't be surprised if they do.
I don't think I'm allowed to eat my breakfast.
Why?
Because every time I take it out to eat, this guy tries to get it.
See, you
come on, man.
You have to.
Your food's in the dish.
Your food looks better.
Yeah, that's the problem. I don't blame him. I mean, it probably is better.
The other local team that played last night were the Islanders. They spotted the Maple Leafs a 2-goal lead and came back and won. Anthony Beauvillier scored the winning goal in overtime. Islanders won 3-2. Sorokin was great in goal, making 30 saves, only allowing the 2 goals, and he was being peppered all night by the Leafs, especially on their power play. This is the Islanders' 7th game this year that they've come from behind by more than 1 goal to win. That's tied for best in the league. That team is playing some outstanding hockey. With the way the Rangers are playing as well, New York's looking up this year for hockey. We have 2 games on the schedule tonight out of, I think, 2 that are both involving local/state teams. Buffalo's at Montreal tonight, trying to break their 8-game losing streak. And the Rangers are in New York to take on, or in LA to take on a tough Kings team. Something notable last night. Patrice Bergeron in Boston's win scored his 1,000th career point, all as a Bruin. There's only 4 players that have done that in Boston history now, and he's one of them. That's the mark of a great career.
That's amazing. What's making the Devils so good in your mind?
Their young players are playing extremely well. They play with a lot of energy. Hughes is 19, Brat's like 20. Heishier's 23, and he's the captain. And he's a great young leader. Everyone's doing their part. They're playing their roles. They're doing it well. The goaltending, which I was suspect of at the beginning of the year because I didn't have the Nets doing all this, the goaltending's been outstanding. And that's even through injuries because they haven't had both their goaltenders most of the season. They've had people up on call-ups. One player's getting a lot of work, another guy's not, and it's been reversed as well. They're very capable, and they just keep finding ways to win. I mean, they did it last night with a total team effort. And Hughes is 19 years old. He's 3rd in the league on entering the scoring zone and making a play that leads to or scores a goal himself. And he does that at 40% in the offensive zone. You all right?
I'm okay. I was wondering if Toby was. He just went boom.
For a 19-year-old, the only 2 guys better are like superstars, McDavid and McKinnon.
Well, what I was gonna ask is this kid's rookie year at 19?
His second.
How much did he play last year? Did he play most of the year? Or?
He played a little over half the season.
Okay. Because what I was getting at is I was wondering how much of this was maybe the league doesn't have a lot of film on him yet, and how much is just this good.
Oh, he played in 55 games last year.
Okay.
He is this
he's just
good.
Yeah, he's just good. Okay.
And he's got a younger brother at Michigan who is also drafted by them, who's going to be there in another year or 2. They have a pipeline that's built up. This team has talent, and they're going to have it for a long time.
What now? Obviously, they're in the middle of a crazy hot streak. Where do you see their ceiling this year?
I think they can be a playoff team. I don't know how far they go. They have 0 playoff experience. They have a couple of veterans who've been there, but most of their main guys have yet to see it. But I think making it, and if you get through a round and you get to the second, it's great experience for them for the next year. Of course, once you get there, anything can happen.
Yeah, well, that's very true, especially in the hockey playoffs. It's always a crapshoot.
Right.
Yeah.
You see a lot more 1-8 upsets than you do in the NBA.
Yeah. That's one of the things I don't like about hockey, actually. I can't, and that's the reason I don't like the NCAA tournament too. Is that stuff drives me crazy. I always feel cheated.
Yeah, but think about this: teams 1 through 8 in the East last year all had over 100 points.
What does that even mean? Like, I know that points are like the way they determine.
You get
standings.
2 points for a win,
and then 1 for a tie. Yeah, I know how it's tabulated, but like, I guess like what's
over 100 is really
that's what I was
tough
getting
to
at.
do
What's a
when
threshold?
do it.
Like, what is a normal winning team? If I'm a 6 seed in a normal year, how many points do I have roughly? 80, 75?
6 seed, you could have 90.
90? Okay. All right.
But when all 8 got 100, to me, there were no upsets. Even if an 8 would have beaten a 1, it's not an upset.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
now the NBA, on the other hand.
Oh, that's what I love about it. I love that about the NBA is like
it's a shock when an 8 beats a
1.
I
love that. And that's the way it should be. It really should be that way. And it makes it, I think, better when it does happen. Because it also feels more I guess legitimate, earned, special, like real. Real is probably the best word I just rattled off. It just feels
See,
more real.
I tend to disagree because because it's like comparing apples to oranges. You have one player in hockey who could turn a series around with a hot streak, and that's a goaltender.
Right.
And if one gets hot, it doesn't matter where you're seated.
But conversely, in the NBA, if you have one of those guys, whether it's LeBron, Giannis, Durant, Curry, Jason Tatum, Luka, one of those type of players, that's as every bit as an advantage as having an elite goaltender, maybe more.
Yes, it is,
because
those guys are normally not on 7 or 8 seats.
No, they're not. That's very true.
Right.
That's very true. Because it's so much more of an advantage to have one, so that their teams are that much better because of that advantage. So
right.
They win more games.
If case in point, if the Islanders get in as an 8th seed, Sorokin might be the hottest goalie in the league this year. It would not shock me a bit if he steals a series, maybe 2. Because when they got that confidence up and every puck's coming to them like it looks to them like the size of a beach ball, the game just flows to them. And it makes it harder because there's not as much scoring.
Oh, great.
Especially with a hot goalie, he's not going to give up a lot.
Right. How many minutes does the average great player in the NHL play in a game? Like Connor McDavid, for example.
Connor McDavid's rare because as a forward, he plays almost 30 minutes a night.
Okay.
Which is insane. Most forwards play from the high teens to the low to mid 20s.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah, depending on who they are. Your 2 best defensemen will play at least 25, 26 minutes a night. Mm-hmm. But McDavid's just got a motor. He's an outlier in that regard.
Got it.
Trying to get a goal late yesterday. He was out there for about 4 straight minutes. I don't know how he just didn't fall
over. That's wild. I tell you, that's another thing about hockey that always interests me. Like 4 straight minutes or 8 straight minutes, like that sounds like so minimal. It just doesn't sound like a lot of time, but that's just how hockey's played.
When you're going back and forth and skating at 15 to 20 miles an hour,
yeah,
and stopping and starting as much as you do, it takes a lot out of you. Their legs are just, their leg strength is amazing.
There you go. All right. Well,
8 games in the NBA last night.
Yes. Let's go.
Anything stick out to you? The Knicks won a road game.
The Knicks won. The Warriors stink. Now
it's time now.
They benched everybody. Curry, Green, and Thompson. So I do want to preface it by I understand that. But
2 games in 2 nights.
But you know what though? I understand that, the fact that they weren't playing, but I don't understand that the fact that they were voluntarily not playing. Right now, you can't afford that. I don't care if it's 3 games in 3 nights. You do not have the luxury right now. If you're trying to come back into the season, you don't have the luxury of sitting guys who are otherwise healthy. So they're a little tired. So, oh well. Like, at the very minimum, you play 2 of the 3. If you want to maybe over the course of the next few games, give each of them a rest. So stagger it. Like rest Green last night, rest Clay the next night, Curry the next, whatever, But, and the other thing is, and Steve Kerr even made mention of this himself, this was the second time this year that they were in New Orleans. The only time this year that the last time this year that they're going to be in New Orleans. And they haven't played a road game in New Orleans with the full access of fans since 2019. Curry is one of the biggest draws in the NBA. I don't personally like watching him play, but most of the world does. And you just basically rob them of that again for what?
Right.
Rest? I'm sorry. Like it sits with me the wrong way when teams do this, when they are supposed to be good and they're buried in the standings. Like now is urgency time. This is all hands on deck time. Let's get back to 5 games over 500. Then we can start playing these games again. You don't have that luxury right now. You're what, 3-4 games under 500? We're almost a quarter of the way through the season. It's not like super duper early anymore. We're almost in December. It's getting to that point where it's like, what's really going on here?
You played Jonathan Kuminga 39 minutes, Anthony Lamb 34, and Moses Moody 33. Kevon Looney played a whopping 5.5 minutes. Jordan Poole played 26 minutes and scored 26 points.
They may as well have just
Wiggins sat too.
Wiggins sat. Yeah, that's right. They may as well just have forfeited the game and said, "We're not coming. Fine us."
Yeah.
You may as well have. The game was awful. There's nothing to watch. Like, it was basically like watching an intra-squad scrimmage if you're the home fans. Like, yeah, our guys are out there, but like, they're basically playing the backups.
Yeah. Well, the Pelican starters, except for Ingram, who played 30 minutes and had 34 points, every one of them played anywhere from 19 to 23 minutes. So you got no big numbers out of them, except Valanciunas squeaked in a double-double.
Now, how much of that was because they were in cahoots and they both decided at the same time, both teams, to basically rest people with Ingram being the exception?
Because they were killing them.
Or because, right. Well, because they were up by 100 points early and it didn't matter.
I mean, yeah, they beat them by 45
points. Yeah, so that's embarrassing. That's not that's not an NBA game. I mean, people really should, and I'm not like Mr. fan friendly. It's not really my thing, but like people really should get partial credit to a future game. Like maybe you don't do a refund, but like people that were in attendance this night get 30% off their next ticket purchase if they purchase another ticket this season. Something like that. Or
buy one, get one free.
Or, I don't even think you have to do that. Maybe it's 30% off and maybe like, one free hot dog or something.
Because if you came to that game to see Steph Curry play.
Or even anyone else. I mean, Ingram's the only guy I saw. What did Zion play? 15 minutes?
About 20.
20? Like, that's just, I got half a game even from... I really got a quarter of a game because I got half a game from one team.
Right.
It's like, and yeah, to your point, if you came to see Curry or Thompson, or you're disappointed. And now that's not the reason I'm not using that as my reasoning for saying we should give the fans something is because those are road players. And this was in New Orleans. So it's not the job of the Pelicans to compensate for the folly of their road players. But their guys only played half a game too, but other than Ingram.
But if you go to games to see certain players and they come to your town once, it's happened to me once.
Oh, it sucks. I'm not disputing that.
I know people that it's happened to a number of times, but I wouldn't like it.
No, of course not. No, it's totally justifiable to be pissed off about that. But ultimately, I guess what I'm saying is it's the Warriors' responsibility to rectify that, not the non-offending team.
I think the league should step in and say something. Hey, this is unacceptable.
It's a double-edged sword. I mean, as much as I agree, I also don't like the, for lack of a better analogy, government involvement there. Because ultimately,
I don't either, but it's the fans who lose. And the fans are the ones that are supporting you.
Right. No, I understand. But I guess the counter argument to that would be a fan is worth just as much to us on television as in the arena, maybe more.
And possibly correct.
So that's why it's a tricky issue. Like, what has to be done is not like a heavy-handed, we're going to fine you a la David Stern if you don't do this. It needs to be a more nuanced, incentivized. It makes sense to push these guys to play more. Like,
I agree.
That's the way it has to be done.
And think about it. When you've got so many computer models doing these schedules, there is no reason any one team has to play more than 3 back-to-backs in a season. And it's not as much as it used to be, but it's still too many. And most of the players feel that way. You're not getting 100% of them.
Yeah, but the problem I have with that is I feel that it's a slippery slope. I feel the second you take that away, then they're going to complain about 2 games in 3 days. It's never going to be enough.
Well, then you'll let them complain about that and say, if you don't like it, go somewhere else.
Well, well, will they do that though? If they're not going to put their foot down here, why would they put it down there?
Because
would.
back-to-backs are less reasonable. A game every other day, you do that in the playoffs, except for the first round. That's more than reasonable.
Yeah, I don't even think back-to-backs are unreasonable, really. I mean,
I do.
I really don't. I think that it's unreasonable to, bench all of your guys all at once. I think that's unreasonable.
Yeah.
But
if you have back-to-backs, the likeliness of that happening, at least with veteran players, is stronger.
And it's just as unreasonable to do. I mean, because, look, last night. Let's take last night, for example. Why can't you bench Curry and Green and play Thompson and Wiggins, and then tomorrow bench Thompson and Wiggins and play Curry and Green? There's no reason you can't do that. Wiggins isn't 50.
Kerr went full Popovich.
No, he did. He did. And if he was still alive, Stern would have gone full Popovich on Kerr.
Yes, he would.
To $500,000.
Yes, he would have.
Yeah, I do believe that had David Stern lived and remained commissioner, this would not have become the cottage institution that it's become under Silver. I do believe that. For fair or foul. Because, like I said, I have a double-edged opinion on this because I really don't like government involvement. I would always rather the fans lose out, as you put it, than extend central power in anything. I have a visceral negative association with central power of any kind, so I'm almost never going to support that. On the flip side, it just, the way it's being done by these coaches right now is so asinine that I also don't support that, and I just don't think there's a good solution. I really don't.
Probably not, because there's really no in between.
Right, that's the whole thing.
Did any other game catch your eye last night?
Well, the Knicks won. They scored 129 and they won by 10, so they still let up 119, but they did win.
They won. They're 500.
They're 500.
Just like the Sixers.
Yep, that's right. Sixers without Embiid for a couple of games. That's going to hurt. No pun intended.
Clippers had a nice win.
Yep.
Over a Utah team that just doesn't go away.
How good has Lauri Markkanen been for that team?
Oh, amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Dylan says, in case you didn't know, my Pacers are currently the 4th seed in the East.
Pacers are well above 500 and playing extremely well.
My question
extremely well.
Is Halliburton the leader for most improved player?
He has to be.
I think so.
He has to be. Markkanen at 25 and 10 last night, by the way.
Yeah, he's been amazing.
Yeah, he has.
Other games. Let's take a look.
And your THT at 14 off the bench. I like that.
Oh, I mean, he's been solid.
Speaking of solid, Zubats 14 and 14.
Consistent, man. He is the definition of workman. I love Zubats. And I got to give some credit here. Ben Simmons is really playing well now. He really is. I'm so happy for him because, I've been a fan of his game for a very long time. I mean, I've always liked his game, and I always defended him against this whole, he needs to shoot more jump shots. No, he doesn't. I don't need my 6'10", 6'11", uber athletic point guard shooting jump shots. Was Magic Johnson popping 30-footers? No, he was running up and down the floor, being more athletic than everybody, being bigger than everyone guarding him, and using his elite playmaking to make things happen. Now, don't get it twisted, I'm not comparing Ben Simmons to Magic Johnson in terms of aptitude, but I am comparing them in terms of their size and their general style and their general skill set. I don't want Ben Simmons shooting jumpers. I never did. I don't care if he never shoots a jumper. The guy's 6'10", 6'11", crazy athletic with great court vision and length. Let's do that.
No, you use Simmons to his strengths.
Right. Like, let's do that. He's got plenty of them. The Cavs
Yeah.
last night beat the Hawks 114-102. They continue to be a box office draw, the Cavaliers. This is a team that I'm increasingly enjoying watching.
Yes. It's hard not to be enjoying them. They're great.
Here's a
They're
little
fun.
Oh, they are. Here's a little bit of a rumor mill for you. I've been hearing the last couple of days. It looks like John Collins may be on the trading block.
I've heard that, but I haven't really substantiated it with anyone. But I have heard it.
Yep. This backcourt for Cleveland just absolutely dominated this game. 29 for Mitchell, 26 for Garland. Combined, they were 20 for 36 from the field. I mean,
That's efficient.
Oh, man, they were 9 of
55 points on 36 shots.
Unbelievable. 9 of 10 from the foul line, 6 of 12 from 3. I mean, jeez, that's a lot. That's a lot
That's
of
how
efficiency.
you win.
Yep. Kevin Love did get in this game, not so much, easing his way back. Big game for Chetty Osman off the bench. He had 23 points on only 10 shots. He was 8 for 10. So
that's the second nice game he's had lately.
Yes.
Hey, anytime you can get another weapon,
that's it.
Doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt. We got a couple minutes. Give me a couple news you can use items.
Well, first, your TNT doubleheader tonight's Brooklyn at Philly and Lakers at the Suns.
Davis been playing big, man. I mean, he's been playing awesome.
Yes, he has.
Suns in a bit of drama. We're hearing maybe more and more about Jay Crowder, maybe finally getting moved. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and call the upset here. I think I'm picking my Lakers. I think Davis continues to roll. I got LA in this one.
Okay. I never pick individual games in an 82-game season. I have no clue. Odell Beckham Jr. is getting closer to making his return, and the two teams that are topping the list right now are the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants.
Isn't that wild? Two rivals. Wouldn't it be great if he announced before the Thanksgiving game? So just another storyline going into that game. Wouldn't that be awesome? I'm rooting for that. That would be great.
It would be great. Would be great.
Maybe you could do it like a Roger Clemens style, just show up in one of their owners' boxes. We get Susan Collins, not Susan Collins, that's a politician. Susie Waldman coming on, being like, oh my goodness gracious, oh my gosh. That would be the way to do it.
That would be excellent. A couple other quick things. A notable CFL quarterback to work out for NFL teams. His name is Nathan Rourke, played for British Columbia, had a great year. He was excellent, played at the University of Ohio. I played in 10 games last year in the CFL, 3,300 passing yards, 25 touchdowns. He also ran for over 300 yards. More than 24 teams have expressed interest. Now, to some teams, he may just be a backup, but I hope the Jets are one of those teams. It can't hurt.
Nope, I agree.
It can't hurt. And one more quick thing. Could Matthew Stafford retire over concussion fears? I mean, this is twice this month he's gotten one now, and he's had a few. Pat McAfee said he thinks he'll be back next year, but he doesn't know for sure.
Yeah, you never know.
At 34, he may be asking himself how long he wants to do this and keep taking that pounding.
Yeah, I'm going to...
Especially to your head.
Yeah, I'm going to say he's back. I think he's back too, but I don't... I'm not going to guarantee anything, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. Well, there you have it. All right, well, that does it for us. We'll be back tomorrow, 10 to noon. And then off
Making
the rest
our
of the
NFL
week.
picks.
Yes. So we will do our NFL picks. We will talk, of course, more hoops, more NHL, all kinds of stuff. Your usual favorites, the Rant, the top 5, news you can use, the whole thing. We will be back tomorrow. Until then, enjoy titillating sports. Rick Tittle here on The Cave.